Answer. And the first question stands in the name of Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. It asks, what will be the focus of the budget on 19 May?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the budget will focus on three main areas: building faster economic growth around higher national savings, setting a credible path back to surplus and the repayment of debt, rebuilding Christchurch over the next few years. At the same time, the government will continue to protect the most vulnerable New Zealanders by increasing funding for health and education and maintaining income support programs.
Amy Adams.
To the Minister, why is it important for the government to get back to surplus and repay debt?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, as we came through the recession, it was appropriate that the government ran larger deficits and borrowed a bit more to help protect New Zealanders from the sharp edges of recession by supporting jobs and incomes. But that can't continue. The economy is now returning to more normal growth patterns. We need to reduce the need for extra borrowing and get the government's books back to surplus. In particular, increase national savings so that we can decrease our vulnerability to external borrowing.
Amy Adams.
To the Minister,
This question was a mistake.
how will the budget contribute to the cost of rebuilding Canterbury after the two devastating earthquakes?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the budget will allocate around $5.5 billion to rebuilding Christchurch over the next 3 years. About $3 billion of this will relate to the government's share of rebuilding local government infrastructure, roads, also to cover insurance excesses on schools and hospitals, temporary housing and land remediation, as well as demolition costs in the CBD, ACC costs and the costs of business and welfare support. This will also include some contingency for the likely biggest cost of land remediation following the February earthquake. There is also around $3 billion of direct costs to the Earthquake Commission for meeting the insurance cost of residential property damage.
Amy Adams.
To the Minister, what alternatives are there to the government's balanced and considered approach to managing the economy?
The Honourable Bill English. Order. I want to be able to hear the answer. Order.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there are those who are to the left of the national government who want to borrow and spend significant amounts of money that we don't have. That would cost jobs and push up interest rates. There are those who are to the right of the national government who want to significantly cut spending on government programs without regard for the consequences. This government will continue to take a balanced and responsible approach.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister, why isn't the focus of the budget on relieving financial hardship on New Zealanders, given Statistics New Zealand confirmed this morning that prices have risen more than twice as fast as wages in the last year?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member knows he is being misleading with the use of those figures. The increase...
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think we all know that what the member just alleged is a breach of privilege.
Order.
Knowingly
I'm on my
misleading
feet.
the House.
Order. The member could have simply asked the first part of the question. The member chose to include in his question a statement that was debatable. The Minister, in answering it, has picked on the statement in the second part of the question and is disputing it. The Minister is perfectly entitled to dispute a statement added to the question that was not an essential part of the question. And there's nothing that I can do about that as Speaker. Had the first part of the question been the only part of the question, the Minister couldn't have answered the way he did. The member invited that kind of answer by adding his statement to the second part of the question.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, all of that is right. You're absolutely right in that ruling, sir. It wasn't the question that I was asking you to rule on. It was the statement of the Minister of Finance that Mr. Cunliffe was knowingly misleading the House. He was knowingly misleading. If he is doing that, he is breaching privilege, and one is not allowed to allege a breach of privilege in that way.
Well, I hear the member's point that I perhaps didn't pick up exactly the issue of his first point, but I listened to the Minister, and I don't believe the issue is deliberately misleading the House, and the Minister didn't accuse the Honourable David Cunliffe of deliberately misleading the House. Misleading is a matter of debate, but the crucial issue is deliberately misleading the House. And
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I just ask you if you can indicate the difference between knowingly and deliberately. Sir, I think if you allege someone does something knowingly, you're alleging that they're doing it deliberately.
Well, what I'll do to avoid taking further time on this is ask the Minister to just be a little more careful in his language, but there was nothing wrong with his focusing on the second part of the question. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the member is misleading the House, whether he does it knowingly or not. The fact is that the Consumer Price Index of 4.5% includes the increase in GST. The increase in GST has been fully compensated through our income tax package. The figures today show that, in fact, when you take into account the compensation for GST, New Zealanders' incomes are more than keeping up with inflation.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Is this a supplementary question?
No, it's not. It's
point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, leaving aside the debate about knowing versus deliberate, the facts are 1.9%.
Order. The member is in seat immediately. That is not a point of order. The member has further supplementary questions if he wishes to use them. Question number 2, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.